Hi, it's Steve from Part Select. Today we're going to show you how to check a dryer thermostat using a multimeter. Components such as a heating element will have a coil of wire and a couple of terminals on them. And when we're checking for continuity, we're looking for the ability for current to pass through that coil of wire and out the second terminal. If it cannot do that, we say that it has no continuity. The same thing would apply to either a thermal fuse or a thermostat. We look for the ability for that device to be able to allow current to come in through one terminal and out through the second one. And we can measure that ability using our multimeter. Now, when testing a dryer component for continuity using a multimeter, the first thing we'll need to do is to remove power from the dryer before we attempt any type of repair. And secondly, we'll need to remove any wires that are attached to that component so that we isolate it from the circuit, or remove the component completely from the dryer. Now, there are a variety of styles of thermostats that you will see on a dryer, and they will all have at least 2 terminals, and you may find some that have 3 or, in some cases, 4 terminals. Now, the styles that typically have 4 terminals on them, 2 of those terminals will be a little bit smaller, so we can just disregard those 2 terminals, and we'll look at the 2 larger terminals on those. Now, there are 2 main types of multimeters available today. The digital type that has typically an LCD type of display, and also the analog style of meter that has a needle type of movement. Now, when testing a thermostat, we'll start by selecting the ohm scale on our meter and pick a low ohm scale or a scale that has tone as well. And on a digital meter, typically this is what you will see, a 1 in the far left side of the meter, indicating that it is over range or open circuit. Now, to test our meter, we'll touch the 2 probes together, and the reading should change to something close to 0 ohms. Now, a properly working thermostat will have continuity that is close to 0 ohms, so we'll place 1 probe on one terminal, the second probe on the second terminal, and again we should see something close to 0 ohms. Again, 1 probe on one terminal, the second probe on the second terminal, and this is a defective thermostat, as indicated by no movement on the readout on the meter. And again, on thermostats that have 4 terminals, typically you'll see 2 smaller ones in the middle. That's normally a bias resistor that's internal to the thermostat, and you could disregard that. On thermostats that have 3 terminals, only 2 of those will have continuity, and you would need to consult the schematic diagram for that particular dryer to determine which of those 2 terminals were the correct ones. Now, with an analog meter, we'll first need to zero the meter movement, so we'll select the ohm scale, and again we'll pick a low scale or a scale with tone, and there will be an adjustment wheel either on the face or on the side of the meter that we'll use to zero out the meter movement. So we'll place the 2 probes together and hold them together, then adjust that wheel until we get 0 ohms, and then we'll do the same as we did with the digital meter. We'll place 1 probe on one terminal, second probe on the opposite terminal, and you should see 0 resistance on the scale. And using the tone function, you would hear an audible tone that indicates we have continuity. And that's how easy it is to check a thermostat with a multimeter.